All right, it's time to add some style to our web page. So we've done HTML, which is all the content, and now CSS is gonna cascading style sheets are gonna allow us to add the style. Let's open up our project again. So I am going to go to my F drive, my folder, CS10 folder, web dev, random quiz, right? Remember we have the index.html, our media files, images, and audio. And now to open this, if you installed it, you can right click and say open with code. I usually do the whole folder. But if you didn't do that, you can also just open Visual Studio Code. And I think it's already open from last time, but I will just close the folder. Just to remind you that to open a new project, you just take the project folder that has all the files in it, drag it into the open space here, and that should load our random quiz. And it shows us what's open, index.html. Okay, awesome. And let's drag this to the side so I can have this open over here, like so. Okay, make this a little bigger so you can see it. Now remember, we can open up our web page by using the index.html file, right? Drag it into here. But then it doesn't show the updates, right? It doesn't, I have to hit refresh every time I make a change. So instead, we can use this wonderful go live. And that'll open it up through the live server. Okay, let's add some styles. All right, so CSS basics, and we're gonna look at, first of all, how do we do CSS? There's multiple ways to do it, but we're gonna use the recommended way of having an external style sheet. So a whole separate file for our CSS. You can also do internal style sheets or inline style, but we're just gonna look at the external style sheet. So basically the idea is we create a CSS file and we link to it in our HTML, in the head section of our HTML. So I'm gonna, well, let's actually start by making the CSS file. So I'm gonna make a new file, and let's just call it style.css. Okay, and that's empty right now. This is where we're gonna write our CSS rules, our properties. And then, so for example, here's how the style sheet should look. They give us some examples: body, background color, light blue. So this basically says select the body element, right? In our HTML, there's a body element. So select that body element and give it a background color of light blue. Select our H1 elements, give it a text color of navy, and margin left 20 pixels. Let's just copy and paste this and see what it does. So I'm going to paste that into here. I'm going to at F1 format document, Shift-Alt-F, and it'll format it for me using that prettier extension. Let's save that. And I don't see a light blue background. I don't see this being navy. Okay, so what we're missing is this part, right? This HTML file, the web page, doesn't know to use the style sheet. We need to link the two together. So I'm going to put that into my head right here. Okay, so link, this just saying it's what type it is and the I don't know what this stands for, relation, I can't remember. Anyway, so the href is the important one, mystyle.css, except we called it style.css. It's got to make sure that the file name matches, right? Style.css. Now when I hit save, you go here, hey, look, this is now navy. The margin left, it's 20 pixels off the edge, and the background color of the body is light blue. We probably won't keep those styles, but at least we have styles now. And feel free to change this, right? Try different things. Red. Oh, there it goes, right? Margin left. You know what? Instead of having margin left on just the H1, why don't I have margin left on the whole body? And that moves everything over a little bit. Instead of 20 pixels, let's go 50 pixels, right? Gives us a little bit of margin on the left side. That red was a really bad choice. I actually like the light blue better. And VS Code gives us a whole bunch of options and stuff. So save and away we go. Okay, so that gives us the setup, right? We link to the style sheet. If we go back to here and look at the CSS Syntax and Selectors, it really shows this here, that we have a selector, body h1, we select our HTML elements, and then inside of these curly brackets, the braces, you can put these different property value rules, property value semicolon, property value semicolon. Right? You need to separate end each property value pair with a semicolon. And we're going to basically learn about all sorts of different properties, backgrounds, fonts, colors, borders, margins, padding, all sorts of stuff. Okay. Now, we'll have a quick discussion, well, we'll see how quick, but about selectors. Okay, so when we do CSS Selectors, there's the element selector, which basically says select all. Let's do this one. Paragraph elements, let's go color red. Again, why am I, let's go spaces 2. Shift Alt F, there we go. So paragraphs, this is the element selector. So it says select all paragraphs. And every single paragraph on my page is now red. Okay. There's also something called the ID selector. We're not going to focus on that too much now. It helps us to select one unique element, but that's more commonly used when we learn JavaScript, so we'll get to that later. The class selector is a big one, and the grouping selectors. Let me show you the grouping selectors first. Basically, it says let's apply this style to a bunch of other things. Paragraph, comma, maybe also my H2s. Right, so now my H2s are also red. Notice the list here. That was an unordered list, so I could go comma UL. And it would select all UL elements, all H2 elements, and all paragraph elements. Right, so that's if you have something common, it's nice to group them together like that. But I don't want that. Okay. Another thing that we can do, the classes is a big one. This one is quite useful. And basically what it is it allows us to specify one or more elements to be part of a class, and we'll apply those styles just to that class. So let's create a class, .red. The dot or the period represents the name of a class, and then here's the red is the name of that class. And you can give this any valid name, no spaces, but any just regular name. So .red. And now you'll see nothing is red. So we've specified a class and the styles for that class. In our HTML, we need to tell what elements belong to the class. So for example, I could say, you know what, I want this H2 class equals red. So we add an attribute inside of the opening tag. And that now selects that one element and makes it red. And of course, I'm gonna copy. I can add that to this li, and that will be red as well. And I can change this paragraph to red. Right, so you can have as many elements as you want inside of that class, one or more. Okay, so it gives us more control over how we style. Okay, now I'm going to hit undo because I actually don't want that right now. We'll see. Let's go to my styles. I don't want this red thing. We'll use that as we go along, but for now that's kind of where I want to go. Okay, so let's end off with a little bit of a discussion about color. Right, so far we've seen these color names, light blue and navy, and if you look here, you can see that as well. There are 140 colors, color names that are commonly supported. I'm sure there's more, but these are the commonly supported ones. And you can scroll down here and take a look at all these. Wow. Okay, but in addition to color names, there are also RGB values, RGB colors. And this is kind of cool. It shows us RGB is the amount of red, green, and blue. 255 is full red, right? And 0 would be 0 red. If I can get to 0, go to 0. I can just type it into, oh look, one of those number inputs. So to 0. Okay, so 0 is black. I make that full red. Or we can increase the green, or we can increase the amount of blue, right? If you increase all of them, you get closer to white, right? So that's pure white. Oh, almost. There we go. Pure white, 255, 255, 255. Okay, so that's one way to do colors as well, and you'll see that different combinations of red, green, and blue to get all sorts of different colors. This is another common one right here. That's the Hex Colors. Hex Colors right here. So again, the same idea. It specifies the amount of red, green, and blue, but it just does it using hexadecimal numbers. So it looks a little different. The first 2 digits are for red. The next 2 digits are for green, and then the last 2 are for blue. Okay, so right here. And it's hexadecimal numbers are just different. Instead of base 10, it's base 16. So we need letters representing numbers. It's weird. We won't get into that now. You should learn about binary first. But it's similar to binary and hex. Okay. What else? So those are the colors you can use. So if I wanted this color right here, I could just take this, copy it, and put that in place of there. And VS Code gives me this little preview. That's kind of cool. And there's my yellow background color. Wow. Or we could do RGB, right? So RGB, and I could go 25 or 255, 80, 120. No idea what that is. Oh, maybe some sort of coral. Anyway, so play around with the colors. Visual Studio Code is neat too. If you just hover over this, you can actually play around here with different things and change the RGB right inside of here. There's all sorts of tools as well. I've used this color wheel before, Sessions College color wheel, and you can specify some colors and then choose like things that go complement and stuff like that. So we could pick a color here and pick different color schemes. There's all sorts of color tools out there, but colors that go well together. All right. Anyway, let's stop there. We now know how to set up our external style sheet and link to it. A link to it from our HTML. We know the selectors. We talked about class selectors and grouping selectors. And we're going to do a lot of learning about all these different properties and values that we can do to style our web page. Okay, and again, please feel free to play around with this, right? Style things how you want. Change the questions to different questions that you want. Have some fun with this. Okay, later on in this course, you'll actually turn this quiz into something that will work once we learn how to use JavaScript. Okay, hope that made sense so far. Take care, and we'll see you in the next video.